Have you ever taken someone up on an offer of, well, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know, and if so, how did it end up? Years ago, when my dad died, his right-hand man at work offered to do anything to help us. We found out we had to move on 24 hours notice, 400 miles away. Mom was too hesitant to ask. We didn't have any options on so little time. So I insisted she call him. He shows up, not 4 hours later, with literally everyone from his job site. With all their pickups, and a few small moving trucks /trailers. We vacated within 24 hours easily. I've completely lost touch with them, but I'll never forget them for doing that. It was completely surprising to me because that guy had complained about my dad quite a few times, but always helped him out, even when doing personal things for him on his off days. A relative of an acquaintance needed help recovering family photos from a broken PC. I was just going to do a quick repair and bill the guy, but I felt really bad for him, so I took the extra time to consult him about backing up data and suggested an external drive. We found one for him, but he was waffling on the price, so I cut his bill down a bit and told him to just order it while I was there. At that point I think he realized I wasn't benefiting from any further contact, and he offered to help me out if I ever needed a hand with anything electrical, as he was a retired electrician. Short version is I had some light switches that when flicked would flicker several other rooms nearby lights. I asked this guy if he could just come assess what I needed and what it should cost for me whenever he had time. He came over for about 30 minutes, tinkered with the wall plates and said I don't know, then went home having repaid his blood debt. This is a reverse story. Someone on Facebook was trying to get out of an abusive relationship. She had left the person many times only to come back to the person. I knew the person from years before, but I really only knew her through a friend. I had seen the person in real life maybe twice. I gave the offer if there is anything I can do for you in a Facebook message. To my surprise she said yes, can I stay with you for a few months? I said sure, since I had the spare room, and my friend that was close friends with her said she was a good person. I let her into my home for 4 months. In that time she had a friend come over for her birthday, and little did I know I would be meeting my future wife and life mate. We have now been together for 8 years with our love going strong. So my offer really paid off in my case, despite the fact I was really scared to have this relative stranger move into my spare bedroom. My friend was right. She is a good person. Unfortunately she did move back in with the abusive boyfriend for about a year until another situation broke out and she moved out permanently. She is now in a new relationship in a different part of the country with someone else and has been for many years now. Someone who is not abusive. So hooray for both of us. A relative of mine had passed away, leaving me the entire estate. Part of that was a boat. When I was at the house sorting things out, a neighbor came over and introduced himself. I hadn't met him before, as he had just moved in a year earlier. At one point, we ended up talking that boat. As we were talking, he said he had to get back to the wife and to let him know if there was anything he could do. Jokingly, I asked him if he wanted to buy the boat and gave him a price. He sort of laughed, as most people would do. About an hour later, he sent me a text asking if I was serious about selling the boat. When he left, he went straight home and asked his wife and then went to the bank to get the money. I said yes, and he had the money to me that evening and took possession of the boat. I have a somewhat similar story. My neighbors have called the cops a bunch of times about us having a trailer with an excavator parked in our yard. If you're curious, check my post history. Well, a couple months ago, on a Friday, I found out I owed $1,800 to something, because Maygram sucks, and I had no clue how I was gonna come up with it over the weekend. My so had parked his work van where we usually put the trailer, and my asshole neighbors called the cops and said it was abandoned. The chief of police came out and he's awesome. He's in his 70s and I've known him for over a decade. I had a Thudar bird that he always asked me if I wanted to sell it, and I would always give him a very unreasonable price. We'd laugh, and that was it. This time when he asked, I gave him a very reasonable price and he said I'll be up tomorrow to get it. So that's the story of how my asshole neighbors actually helped me out by calling the cops on me. One time my dad told me to change this light bulb in my house and it was pretty high up and I definitely needed some help so I wouldn't fall to my death. Well, these Jehovah's Witness guys knock on my door, give their pitch, and then they end it with "Thanks for talking to us, is there anything that we can help you with?" So I asked, actually, would you guys mind helping me change a light bulb? And they were more than happy to help me out. Super nice guys. My dog put her head through one of the panes of glass in my front door trying to eat some Mormons once. They were super apologetic and insisted on fixing it. One stayed and helped clean up while the other ran around the corner to a glass shop. When he got back, I gave him the tools he asked for and he had the broken plane fixed in under 45 minutes. I just sat and talked with guy number one about life while he played with the dog that tried to kill him. I'm not religious, which I told them, and they said that's fine and they didn't want to force anything on me I didn't want. All in all, they were some of the nicest people I've ever come across. This one time myself and my younger brother were doing the mowing when we were both teens. Two Mormons came up to us and gave their usual spiel. Of course we declined, but they did the same thing. You bros need any help with that? You fellas got a pretty big yard. Kiwi boys, imagine Korg from Ruggerrock speaking, and that's what they sounded like. Sure as shit, Mum and Dad arrived home and there we were, me, my brother and two massive Kiwi blokes in their full white dress shirt and slacks mowing, weeding and hedging all together. There was a big "please explain" from my parents. But we gave them afternoon tea afterwards to say thanks. I did a similar thing with a group of Mormon missionaries. They had stopped by, we chatted, and then they asked if there were any practical ways that they could help us out. I said we were moving in 2 weeks and could use some help, half joking and expecting nothing to come of it. Well, 2 weeks later they showed up and brought friends. They worked much harder than any of my friends who had showed up and were super cool throughout the whole time. My mother killed them with kindness. See, we're the type of family that'll chatter your ear off even though we're introverted. We just like to talk. Most people avoid us. She had this pair come up to the door and she listened to their whole speech, and she asked questions as she has a desire to learn, as do myself, and who better to learn than when the face of the faith comes and talks to you. The internet has trolls, as we all know. She proceeded to talk to them for 6 hours. To this day, over 6 years later, we have never had another Jehovah's Witness come to our door. Edit. I'd like to thank everyone who upvoted this comment. I've been on Reddit for almost 4 years and I just broke 1 Kelvin karma. My mom passed away when I was a kid and me/my siblings are moved out of my dad's place. He doesn't have many friends, but I discovered when I came over a while back that he gets weekly visits from Jehovah's Witnesses. They talk about spiritual literature for 5 minutes and give my dad some pamphlets. then spend about an hour watching my dad show them around his garage and chatting about other life events. I know unwanted spiritual advance is kind of shitty, but their conduct has always warmed my heart and I think has meant a lot to my dad, who doesn't consider himself religious. The missionaries that visit his house are very warm and polite. When I was younger, my parents invited them in for lunch. They accepted. It seems that they can't ask for anything, but if asked they will politely accept. They were out there all day walking in the heat. Like someone else said, they are people too. They were not from around here, NYC, so they probably just wanted to try something new. A few years ago I was going through a rough patch and one night I got caught up late at work. I was in a panic about letting my dog out and getting her dinner because my break was only 20 minutes and I lived across town. A friend lived nearby and I asked her to take out the dog and feed her. The friend sent me a pic of my pup happily prancing in the yard. A pretty simple favor in the grand scheme of things, but the peace of mind in that moment and time in my life was worth so much. It also made me better about asking for help when I need it. My friend was happy to do it and it made a huge difference for me. I learned I wasn't a burden for needing help sometimes. My, then, pregnant wife started bleeding from somewhere down there at about 20 weeks. Having suffered a miscarriage before, we both had obvious fears. The closest family was an hour away. We called 3 ex-army friends at 11 p.m. at night to see if they can watch our 2-year-old on the monitor while family arrived. No answers. Jumped into a Discord group chat where a few old WoW guildies were hanging out, playing some Apex. Asked one who I knew lived close by, who was a father to 2 ex-girls already, and would have understood / been safe. He was there in under 5, and we were on our way to the hospital in no time. Absolute BRO. No miscarriage, just a bit of blood coming from the placenta. Second baby girl delivered 18 weeks later, with 10 little fingers and 10 little toes. Sorry for the stealing your Apex buddy, boys. Thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe.